Hello and good afternoon, and welcome back to MMPC 11, Block 4, Unit 14, a chapter on uh, diversity management. We discussed inclusive organization yesterday, wherein the diversity is accommodated, accepted, and the diverse people are included in the organization in order to avail and attain the best possible results out of their talent pool. Diversity is an unwelcome reality for any organization, and one cannot escape from it. Sorry, did I say one can not escape from it? No, it is like diversity, however unwelcome it is, has to be accepted, has to be appreciated, and has to be acknowledged. Because when we deal with diversity, we are going to benefit from it, and we will have a very creative organization because the talent pool will bring in a wider talent, more skill, different perspectives, and better decision making possibilities with its diverse approach and uh, the constituency of the diversity. So let us see what exactly diversity is and how do we manage diversity. Diversity affects the performance of an organization. It isn't just the moral or say the social conscious issues. Rather, it is the vital aspect desiring an organization to modify or alter or adapt its policies and procedures and principles, even the culture accordingly. Ignoring diversity may impact adversely to the organization. So, though it is unwelcome, we need to accept it. And this is inevitable because no organization has a uniform capital resource. I mean, the human resource. None of them can have a very homogeneous one. Someone is different, either internal or external customers, right? So, when we have to deal with different types of people, we need to learn who they are and how do we manage these people differently. The word diversity may limit one's interpretation to ethnicity and race or religion, but usually it is a broader term, and it includes or refers to age, parental status, work experience, pregnancy stages, and education, and many other things, which we are going to see in detail very soon. Workplace diversity is not just a politically correct fad, it's a serious competitive advantage. And the organization has, and its managers have to take the utmost advantage of the diverse population they have, the diverse pool of resources they have, um, the diverse human capital they have. Okay. So, diversity is the differences of educational background, social background, or economic background, or religious background. And a company policy must ensure and describe non-existence of discrimination based on any of these differences, and also should ensure that there is no such harassment by anyone towards the minorities or the different lot uh, amongst the workforce. Now, and hence we require a diversity management as an in our agenda in managing an organization. So diversity management in an organization is not only observing a legal and political requirement, but it also talks about promoting the culture and comfort of the employees and analyze and recognize the social diversity to develop richness in the community, enhance the quality of life of people working for the organization and along with each other, and also celebrate achievements and differences this diversity brings in order to benefit the innovativeness. Innovativeness comes from different perspectives of people and uh, increased morale by the diversity, and also the teamwork that is built. uh, we might feel that a very heterogeneous group will have more challenging situations, but the moment the team understands the value of each other and the contributions of each other, that diverse heterogeneous team is going to be more successful because they very soon realize that the differences are bringing in uh, very different solution out of the box thinking and solutions emerge because people bring in a different perspective built by their backgrounds. Okay. And the diversity management also helps in bring harmony amongst the workers. Now, what is the need of diversity in an organization? Before we start accepting diversity, let us also understand, though it is, though it may be involuntary in some cases or legally abiding in many a case, that we need to take people from different backgrounds at times. Uh, is there any need for an organization to voluntarily go for diverse workforce, and how does it help? So uh, we understand that diversity brings in performance. It improves the performance, as we just discussed, because of the perspectives people bring, because of the diverse experience people bring, backed by their backgrounds, which are different from one another, and also retention of the talent and skill. Now, when we see an organization at the inception of a diverse workforce, we may immediately find a lot of non-compliance. And if the organization continues to work with such non-compliance, then there is every possibility of diversity becoming a liability to the organization. We need to come out of it and take advantage of it, as we understand diversity itself is a competitive advantage. So from non-compliance, when we start including people through diversity management, we move towards compliance, and um, from a reactive stage, we move to a proactive stage if we accept diversity. So, at the inception of a diverse organization, it might seem to be a liability, but it would soon become an asset if we become proactive and take some measures to accept diversity and manage diversity. And how do we understand diversity? So, to understand diversity, let us categorize it into two broad approaches. One is the surface level diversity, and the other is the deep level diversity. What is the surface level diversity? The diversity which is noticeable. By observing someone, you can find that he or she is different from me. And this is because of the visible characteristics from this surface level diversity features of the individuals. So we find differences of age, ethnicity, race, religion, uh, culture from the behavior. Uh, the moment we interact, we also understand that we are different by our language, and possibly there are certain differences in people by disability, etc. Now, this surface level diversity can be measured. It can be measured and measured easily. I mean, the recruiters and managers, they can notice it, and based on this, as they measure it, there is a possibility of discriminating the people. And diversity management is all about eliminating the discrimination and accepting and acknowledging the differences of people. So, the surface level diversity is innate and difficult to change. One cannot change one's age, one cannot change one's race or religion that easily. The kind of behaviors we bear as an upbringing and as hereditary practices, they cannot be changed that easily. Um, be it the racial or gender differences that cannot be scaled down to zero. You may fine tune it, or um, you may bring it down the degree of difference, but you cannot bring it to a zero. On the contrary, the deep level diversity is about communicating through verbal and non-verbal behavior. And only when we interact, we get to know this. So they are not visible. Um, Similarly, they are not measurable. Since they are not measurable, it becomes a little difficult for an individual to immediately discriminate or say, I mean, not accept an individual, right? But as we interact, the surface level differences that distance us will gradually disappear, and we start accepting people. So the surface level diversity, which resulted in discriminating and avoiding the diverse individuals or workforce colleagues, when we start interacting, we come across the deep level diversity features, and we understand that the other individual has got some potential talent, skill, which can be benefited by the organization, by the interactants, or the people, the fellow colleagues interacting with each other. And these are something like the attitude of people, the values, the beliefs, the personality that each one bears. So the deep level diversity differences become more important than the surface level uh, diversity differences. And people, when they know each other quite well, they develop an affiliation for each other, a liking towards each other. The surface level diversity differences or features are disregarded. Right? So, diversity basically eliminates the unfair discrimination. Diversity management eliminates the unfair discrimination. What then is discrimination? Discrimination is to make a note of the differences, which sometimes, of course, is not bad. Uh, and when is it so? Discrimination, as such, is not bad when the HR wants to promote or wants to decide on a leader, or the team wants to bring a leader, recognize a leader, an individual as a leader, then discrimination really works. So discrimination as such is not bad, but discrimination of individuals in order to avoid them, seclude them, is wrong. So The diverse workforce that exists in an organization has to be managed with an intent of eliminating any kind of a discrimination which distances people and becomes a barrier in mutual interactions and working together for accomplishing the organizational goals and um, working for the productivity. So diversity develops an opportunity for an organization, and thus diversity management means to eliminate any kind of a discrimination. Um, the surface level diversity and the deep level diversity can be further understood by the biographical characteristics um, like age, gender, or say disability, etc. Let us see like how the discrimination can emerge, and if we understand these differences, we possibly can manage diversity. So, age. Organizations consider aged workers being more experienced, their judgment to be very strong, and they must be having very strong ethics and commitment to quality. Uh, but they may not be flexible to anything that is new, say like new technology. The aged workers may not be accepting technology that easily, in contrary to the younger ones who are more flexible, who would accept change to the extent they even change their jobs that frequently, and they do not register for any kind of a job change. So they immediately hop to a different job if the other organization promises them a better facility or say payment. Now, the older workforce specializes in job, but narrows the opportunities. Having worked for such a long time, they may not be open to any kind of a modification or newness or alteration in their process procedures. So they may tend to become a little rigid, um, but there is every chance that they wouldn't be absent. Again, when these older workforce, when they reach a certain age, the only reason for being absent is there on that is on health grounds. But otherwise, uh, there is so we now can notice a difference between the younger workforce and the older workforce. Um, and this may result in discrimination. Diversity management helps avoid that kind of a discrimination. Gender itself can be a discriminatory approach. So, women are more agreeable and conform to authority. Well, these may sound stereotypical, but then this is the cause of discrimination as well. So it is opined that men are more aggressive, assertive, and have expectations of success. They are more ambitious, and women more likely to turn over than men because of the breaks in their marital life, their family status, family expectations, and see their pregnancy or the planning for children. So they may take a lot of breaks or interruptions, which we discussed in earlier classes, like how it affects their experience, and for that reason, anticipating these interruptions, management may avoid uh, considering women candidates, which itself is discrimination. So rather they need to work, how can they accommodate or give equality to gender and how would they compensate those difficulties the women would face when they go for maternal leave, like providing crèche facility or providing caretakers and giving them a leave or flexibility of work, like these pregnant women can work from home, these new mothers can work from home, or say they can have flexible hours to work. So this kind of things may help manage the diversity and give the women force also equal opportunities, because we have understood from previous sessions discussion that the women carry with them some extraordinary potential which may be lacking by the men folk in that organization. And this kind of a skill or talent or perspective that the women can bring into the work should be welcome. Disability is another biographical characteristic which may lead to discrimination. Like the workforce with disabilities receive a higher performance evaluation. Like, will they be able to do this? Will this be a challenge to them? Will there be a dropout? Will there be a hindrance in the flow of work? Will they encounter some accident, right? So, uh, and in the process, these people with disabilities will be confronted with situations wherein the performance expectations will be low and they may not be hired. Okay. Tenure is another characteristic that may lead to discrimination. Longer the tenure, less likely they will change the job. Um, so, the promise that the organization gives, the scope that the organization gives, and the facilities they provide, if the employees and workforce can stay for a longer duration with the organization and contribute, they will be more dedicated. They will have much more belongingness with the organization. Otherwise, this could be a challenge itself. Religion and the differences in religion may also lead to certain kind of discrimination, like unless there is a law establishing some strict rules and guidelines to abstain from discrimination um, based on religion, there is every possibility that an organization may not prefer people from certain religious backgrounds. Sexual orientation is the next characteristic which can bring in discrimination. Sex between consenting homosexual adults is decriminalized and is considered as an unnatural offense, even in our country. So organizations have considered and adapted policies to protect employees and reduce any kind of a discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation. Ability to, sorry, um, uh, ability as a characteristic may lead to certain discrimination, like the intellectual abilities. People differ from one another, and these intellectual abilities enable reasoning, problem solving, and thinking uh, attained by high level of education, and thus earn more by performing well. It may not make an individual happy or satisfied in job, and the workforce or the employee may leave the job for better opportunities and higher pay elsewhere. So the intellectual abilities by themselves may lead to some kind of a discrimination. At the same time, physical abilities are equally valuable depending upon the job needs, and based on this, there is every possibility like people will have comparison and competitive spirit, and to avoid any such kind of a conflicting situation, the managers may tend to discriminate between the abilities, and this may lead to dissatisfactory teams. Um, so it needs to be managed. Uh, Diversity at workplace. Now, people's performance in response to their superiors' stimuli, that is expectation, depends on their perception, their aspirations, and drives, and thus it differs from individual to individual. So when the superiors' expectations differ, even it has a adverse impact on the subordinates, and those differences are categorized in terms of the diverse elements like social diversity or value diversity or say information diversity. Now, um, let us see the different types of diversity. Excuse me. Sorry. Uh, let me take you through the different diversities. The first one we can call the cognitive diversity or cognitive disabilities, which differentiate one from the other. Uh, while recruiting, the management may not consider people with an IQ less than 70 or 75, right? Or there are some significant limitations in the individual's adaptive skills, or say suppose there is a disability that began by the before the age of 18. So in which cases noticeable differences can be seen, and an individual recruiter uh, may not accept a certain candidate. But it is also seen that not every individual with a cognitive disability um, will be like unskilled or say non-competent, right, or incompetent. There are other types of diversity as well. When we, I'll connect this cognitive disability to something like the neurodiversity later, and we can understand how this cognitive disability differences should be avoided or shouldn't bias a recruiter, and how they can open the opportunities to individuals who may have certain cognitive disabilities and neuro disabilities, but then how they can be considered for alternate skills. Right? Next is the physical disabilities or abilities. Based on this, we can distinguish people, but not every physical disability ensure that the person is incompetent. A person with a difficulty in walking isn't mentally challenged, right? So physical disabilities should not lead to any kind of differences. Mental health of individual may be a cause of discrimination. This may be due to their age. This may be due to a disease that they countered in the recent past. And based on this also, managers may tend to discriminate. Neurodiversity, like I just mentioned, neurodiversity is something like dyslexia or say ADHD or say dyscalculia or dyspraxia. Now, or autism, which we are quite aware of, or say Tourette syndrome. You must have noticed in the movie of in a movie like how Rani Mukherjee makes some sounds, which is a Tourette syndrome. but then she is a very competent teacher. Usually, people with autism, uh, they they have certain critical skills which a job requires. Like uh, the autistic people, surveys have shown us that the autistic people are very good in maths, and they some of them excel in maths, or they are very good at retaining information, uh, and also they are very good at recognizing patterns. So, and all these three, like recognizing patterns or say retaining information and excelling in math, these are basic qualities for several jobs. These are basic skills for several jobs. So, finding someone autistic or someone with a Tourette syndrome, um, which was very well presented in that movie. One should not be discriminated, and their opportunities should not be shunted. So we need to be open to this, and a recruiter must understand and test the other areas where the person or the individual will be competent, and based on it, they must promote that individual, include them in the organization, and benefit from that individual, uh, like tap their skills as a resource, and contribute, let them contribute to the organization. At the same time, when you are including people with such a disability, the able individual workforce must be made aware of how to deal with these people, how to interact with with these people, and this will bring in a very good culture in the organization. Um, the next is behavior and ethnodiversity. Um, from one's culture or family background, or from one's ethnicity, where they belong to, the race, religion, and people develop certain behaviors. And these behaviors, some of these behaviors may seem to be, um, I mean, not so conducive for an organization, but otherwise, uh, this shouldn't be a cause for discriminating and limiting the opportunities to people. Personality and thought style, like stressful situations versus the genius creativity. Um, well, we must understand the strengths and weaknesses of individuals, and uh, and help these individuals to introspect and understand themselves, and how to deal with their stress, and how they can be more contributing. And we have also understood in one of the chapters earlier in job stress, like there is positive stress as well, which we term as use stress, and how can one benefit from the use stress. Cultural background um, also differentiates people from one another, and based on these culture, um, I mean, the differences must be understood, and each individual brings in loads of information with them, and how to deal with them. We must have come across several such advertisements where they show the culture and how the products of an organization fit into that culture, which must even the designer of the product might not have expected that it can be part of certain culture, but we understand it only when we interact with people of different culture. So the cultural background, though, seems to be a surface level diversity difference. One should work with it. One should understand cultures. So when we have a diverse group from different culture, our perspective, outlook, and I mean improves, exchanging each other's views and ideas and opinions and cultural know-how. A geographical location can be a discriminator by itself. Um, in a place like India with a topographical diversity, we have people from the plateaus, from the plains, from the deserts to the high altitude in the northeast. So each one again differs from one another because of the availability of opportunities like schooling or say resources of information or the facilities like internet, you know, and the upbringing will also differ, the cultures differ. So from each geographical location, people come with a different set of skills in background, and this should be in turn one can avail from it. One can understanding each other's lifestyles from these geographically different locations will also help us enhance our understanding of the product, the services, and enhance our products and services that we put to the market. People from different national origins are different, and the diversity therein also brings a lot of contribution to our organization. People differ in languages, linguistics, and accents. Then people differ by ethnicity. So the diversity may even come from the citizenship status of an individual, whether they are from the same country or they are an immigration, and how they change their, I mean, culture, right? And how the different cultures are accommodated. So the other diversity factors can be like age, and how does it affect? We know very well that the baby boomers are workaholics, while the generation Xers are risk takers. The millennials seek meaningful work, while the Gen Zs are ghost employers and seek job security. Um, the Gen Xers may not understand the Gen Z's work style, and each one may be reserved about the other's working style. Such diversity needs to be adapted with some training, with some awareness programs, and the diversity differences can be avoided. Uh, Ideologies is again a diversity. Like it may take an individual more cautious, uh, cautious. Uh, one individual may be more cautious to start a conversation, right? With a coworker. Now, if they know it could lead to a heated debate, then they may, thinking that it might lead to a heated debate, they are hesitant to converse with each other, to initiate a conversation. Because of the different ideologies. But when we start interacting, we build a rapport and we get to know each other. Uh, uh, this is something like the deep level diversity difference. So the ideologies which seem to be confronting, contradicting, once you start interacting, communicating properly, you uh, you will realize that this is something which can be managed. Um, Diversity due to morals, like which aligns with if the individual values align with the corporate values, the vision and mission of an organization, then we can manage the diversity easily. There are differences in social roles, like the stereotypical thinking, like a person having a higher social status may not be open to people with a lower social status. So these differences also hinder a recruiter from accepting people, and also the ones they are inducted, just in case the fellow colleagues may not also accept, or may find it difficult to gel with people. So that's a diversity by itself. Gender identity and gender expression uh, may be may bring in discrimination. Similarly, gender preferences or sexual orientation, and even the sex, like male and female, the discrimination may happen. Recruiters may avoid considering male uh, candidates for a certain job. Yesterday we discussed like nursing. Similarly, certain female candidates may be disregarded for certain positions. So discrimination based on sex. Um, there may be even educational diversity, or a diversity based on income. There may also be a diversity based on socioeconomic status, marital status, something like, uh, see, in interviews they ask like a lady like her plans about marriage, and they find about the marital status. So if the possible the candidate is planning to marry in near future, the candidate may not be preferred because the candidate may soon apply for continuous leaves, and sometimes they even ask about the parental status. Well, in some of the countries, it is no more. It is illegal to check the parental status, um, and the planning for a family. One should not be asking this question, and it is up to the candidate's discretion to keep it as a secret and not discuss this. uh, Diversity may even come from life experiences. People with better life experience um, would be contributing much, but then they may not gel with the people, the youngsters, right? So wide age difference and life experiences um, may be considered as a uh, may be considered as a hindrance when you are considering a certain team, and this may itself become a hindrance in recruiting people. Military experience is again a diversity. People with some military experience will have a different approach to work. Like they will be time bound, very punctual, and it will be difficult to work with a this is a stereotypical thinking. Like there is a possibility that a person with a good military experience will be having expectations about timelines and completion of tasks, and he or she may not fit into a certain team, and the team will have extreme pressure because of this individual. So military experience may itself be a discrimination. While we understand this is one such a diversity which may bring in a good culture of punctuality if the person is included. So um, Diversity can also come from criminal background, like people with a criminal background are avoided. Recruiters usually um, avoid people with criminal background, and these people, I mean, those with the criminal background lose an opportunity to exhibit their skill. Uh, it may have happened out of accident, uh, and they have got a criminal record, but otherwise they may not be personally harmful. or possibly the correction centers have um, improved their behavior, and people wish to get back to normal life. So this discrimination may also lead to no opportunities to people. So recruiters must make a thorough check with these people with a criminal background, and also, if inducted, the fellow workers may also have some, I mean, maintain some distance with these people because of the stereotypical thinking that they must be harmful. So here, the HR team must step forward to bring in the awareness and also help the people to include each other, and have that etiquette to understand each other, build an empathetic approach to each other, and let the opportunities open up for people with a criminal background. Basically, the individual may not have been intentionally a criminal, but situations have led them to be such. Political beliefs also may influence people's behavior, and it is itself, by itself, it's a discrimination and diversity. So there are several such approaches and discriminatory um, opinions, uh, which should be dealt properly in order to include people from different diverse backgrounds. So diversity at workplace, how do we relate to it? Like, it is impossible to manage employees in a standard manner, for sure, due to such diversity. Uh, but we have to accept this because we understand it's a large pool of talent and skill which this diversity brings. And if we learn and accommodate to interact with this diverse group, it is we who would be the individuals who will be benefited, and the organization as well. Hence, organizations should not mold diverse employees into one organizational culture, rather be wisely managed with the diversity, with the differences, with the different perspectives, approaches, outlooks, views, and opinions, to exploit for the optimal benefit, and um, and treat organization as a whole. Uh, the reasons behind diversity rise. Why is this increasing day after day? Globalization is one reason why we come across a very diverse workforce, and gradually people have realized that they have benefited with this, because business expansion has generated greater competition with new type of customers, and to deal with these new type of customers, if we have on board people from that community, we can understand their needs better, and we can cater to the needs better, and developing human capital um, in that regard to operate in those geographical areas, it makes it easier for the organization. So uh, we need to include people and accept diversity. Migration, like, see, there are areas where the world is affected by low birth rate, which leads to importing immigrants. I mean, to for work, to maintain the current level of economic activities in those developed countries. So, because of that shortfall of workforce, they welcomed immigration, and once this happens, you will be having very diverse population and workforce, And in developing countries, high birth rate and improved health conditions cause difficulties in aborting individuals into economic activities, absorbing individuals into economic activities. So, immigration is a solution to support the families. So, in either case, immigration or emigration, we come across a very diverse population, and we need to understand these different people. Women workforce are increasing day after day, and we need to be open to this, understand the differences, accommodate the differences. Population is aging, and so we have healthier, I mean, because of the advancement in science and technology and medicine. We In some places we have very senior people working, and in places we have, in India particularly, we have a large workforce, which comprises, I mean, the youth comprises majority of the workforce. This itself is a diverse situation. And then there is political diversity as well, from place to place. In a country like India, a very, I mean, in a democratic country like India, we have different political views, and this diversity of different political views is again bringing people with different perspective and approach to life and situations. There are certain strategies that an organization has to follow in order to accommodate their diversity. Um, the organizations have to establish an ERG, like the Employee Resource Group. They must partner with disability advocacy groups who would guide them how to deal with the disabled individuals. Their organizations must design their website and application process with accessibility in mind, which we discussed yesterday, um, so that people, the diversity that results from disabilities uh, will keep the organization open to a talent pool, which would otherwise be kept away because of their disability. Uh, the organization need to create an internship program for people with disabilities, wherein they explore the disabled will get an exposure to the different types of work, and they will know where they are the best fit. uh, and these internship programs uh, will also tell the recruiters where the talent pool is concentrated, and they also need to meet offices which are ADA compliant. Um, like the disability advocacy groups may also suggest what facilities or features must be included um, in order to uh, make these people from diverse backgrounds feel comfortable and accommodate themselves into the mainstream, and have an equality in their uh, career and job life. Thank you.